Welcome in to Outkick the Show. I'm your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having fantastic Wednesdays wherever across this great country you may find yourselves or around this great land. Lots to get to, so I'm going to run through this quickly. I've got Lock It In at 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central, 2:30 Mountain, 1:30 Pacific. Hope you guys will check it out on FS1. But in the meantime, the college football playoff rankings came out last night, and I got to give credit to the committee. I think they almost completely nailed it. I had the same top 11 teams that the college football playoff committee did with subtle variations in overall rankings. My best team was LSU. Their best team, Ohio State. I had them flipped 1-2. I had Bama 3. I had Penn State 4. And I had Clemson 5. I know they're getting a lot of criticism for having Clemson in 5th spot, but I agree. I think they got that completely nailed. Georgia, at 6 made complete sense. I thought in the 7 and in the 8 spot, they gave a little bit of a nod to the Pac-12 with Oregon and with Utah there. And then in the 9 spot, I thought that Oklahoma's about right. And then in 10, they got Florida. They had Auburn 11. The difference for me was I had Utah 11. I had Auburn 10. So there isn't that much difference in the grand scheme of things. What did we learn? What message did the committee send us? First of all, LSU is going to be in the playoff if they lose to Alabama in a competitive game, but win the rest of their games. So, if you are a fan of Oklahoma, if you are a fan of Utah or Oregon, you need to be rooting for LSU to beat Alabama and then go 13-0 and guarantee that the SEC only gets one team in the playoff. Because if Alabama beats LSU and then LSU continues and goes out and beats Ole Miss and they beat Texas A&M and they beat Arkansas, which I believe they would do, only one of those games is on the road against Ole Miss, and Ole Miss is not very good, then LSU is going to be in the college football playoff. We chop a spot out right then and there. So, again, if you are out there and you're listening to this, you're watching it, and you are an Oklahoma fan, you are a Utah fan, you are an Oregon fan, and you're hoping the Big 12 or the Pac-12 can fight their way in, then you need to be rooting for LSU to beat Alabama. That is the first big takeaway. The second big takeaway I would have is don't underrate the possibility that the Big Ten, if everything kind of fell apart, could get 2 teams in as well. Because right now, 7 of the top 11 teams in college football are from the Big Ten or the SEC. And this is wild. I think it's getting underplayed. 5 of the top 11 teams right now are from the SEC. Let me repeat that. The rest of college football has 6 of the top 11 teams all combined. The SEC by itself has 5 of them. That's an extraordinary level of dominance, okay? So, don't underrate the possibility that Ohio State, if they go 13-0 and Penn State went 11-1 and a lot of different things broke, that the Big Ten couldn't be in contention to get 2 teams in the playoff. Right now, the only possibility for the ACC is Clemson. The only possibility, unless Baylor goes 13-0, is Oklahoma. And so that is the breakdown in general, all right? Questions from you guys. I can solve any college football hypothetical. Hit me with any of your questions about the college football playoff rankings right now in Facebook or right now in Periscope, and I will analyze it, all right? Any questions that you have about what needs to happen in order for a team to get into the college football playoff. Oregon, a lot of questions about Oregon. Oregon is not going to get in over 11-1 LSU. They're also not going to get in over 12-1 Georgia. All right? Here is the overall SEC playoff picture. There are 3 teams alive. If Georgia makes the playoff, they are number 6 right now in the College Football Playoff Committee rankings. They're in the playoff if they win out. Georgia has to beat Texas A&M. They have to beat Georgia Tech. They have to beat Auburn, and they have to beat Missouri. And then they have to beat LSU or Alabama in the SEC title game. If they did that and they went 12-1, they're in the college football playoff. I also believe that whoever Georgia beat, if they were 12-0, be it Alabama or be it LSU, that 12-1 loser in the SEC title game, I also believe would be in the college football playoff. So that's how Georgia gets in. If Minnesota goes undefeated at 13-0, they'll get in the playoff. Spoiler alert, Minnesota ain't going undefeated and getting 13-0. Penn State's going to beat them this weekend. If Baylor goes undefeated and goes 13-0, they will get into the college football playoff. Spoiler alert, Baylor ain't going 13-0 either and getting into the college football playoff either. But if they did, they would get in. The flow chart, again, the big game this weekend for purposes of the college football playoff is what happens in LSU, Alabama, okay? I am going to LSU, Alabama, and you'll appreciate this conversation I had this morning. So I'm talking to my kids, and I say to my 9-year-old, the middle kid, who's a huge Alabama fan, I say, hey, do you want to go to LSU Bama with me this weekend? He's ecstatic. He's really excited. I say, okay, but we have to ask your older brother too. I want to take both of you together. And my older son is what might be classified as a hater. That is, he roots for teams primarily to make his younger brother upset. So he is a Clemson fan, and he roots for Clemson, not because he likes Clemson, but because he hates my middle kid being an Alabama fan, so he roots for the only team that could potentially beat Alabama, which in his mind is Clemson. So I said, hey, if you're going to go to this game, and it's just going to be Dad, he's 11, I got an 11 and a 9-year-old. I said, if it's just going to be me and you at this game, I can't have you guys fighting. I can't have you sitting in the back seat fighting with each other while I'm trying to drive from Nashville down to Tuscaloosa and back. I said, if you want to go to this game with me, here's what you need to know. You can't root for LSU just to make your middle brother sad and just to make him mad, all right? You can go to the game. You can watch it. It'll be an awesome time. It'll be an awesome environment. And my 11-year-old thought for a minute, and sat around and thought longer. And then he said, you know what, Dad? I can't go to the LSU Alabama game because if I go, I'll be rooting so hard for LSU to win because I want Lincoln, my middle son, to be upset. I don't know if that's incredible self-awareness or what, but he turned down the opportunity to go to the LSU Bama game with me and his brother because he knew that he would be rooting so hard for LSU to win, not because he's an LSU fan, but because he wants his brother to be upset and sad and angry. I didn't have a brother growing up, so I don't know if this is commonplace for brothers who are this close in age. They are so hyper-competitive that they root for each other to be miserable. All right? So this is incredible. So it looks like me. It looks like it's just going to be me and the middle son because my oldest son has turned down the opportunity to go because I told him he couldn't just root against Alabama to make his middle brother angry. So welcome. That's literally the conversation we had in my house this morning when we were talking about whether or not to go to the game. So we will be there in the event that others are going to be there. I'll be at LSU Bama. It should be a lot of fun. Some of you are saying you always did that to your brother. I'll tell you what. That may be fun for you guys, but it drives me insane. The last thing I want to do is be between them for a 14-hour day while I'm trying to convince them to shut up and not fight with each other. So I can only do that with the little brother, all right? So little brother gets to go. Big brother is not going. And so that is going to be the Travis family trip. All right, this is unbelievable to me. The longer the Florida State coaching search goes, the more insane I think it's going to be. This is why I believe that you shouldn't fire a coach during the season. Okay, if you were going to fire Willie Taggart, I don't know what you gain at all by firing him before the season is done unless you have an immediate ability to go out and hire somebody new, because otherwise things start to fall apart really rapidly. I don't know if you've been following this Florida State coaching search, but it has epic disaster written all over it over the next few weeks. Yesterday's story reminds me of the Tennessee coaching search. Yesterday's story was Bob Stoops is going to come and be the new head coach of Florida State, okay? Everybody out there says, no. This is not true, including Bob Stoops. I'm not going to be the coach, all right? That took off and went everywhere. Prior to that, the athletic director said that even if Willie Taggart got hit by a bus, they wouldn't hire Urban Meyer. We've heard of people being thrown under the bus. I've never heard of an athletic director say, what would happen if my coach got hit by a bus, and then he metaphorically hit him by the bus himself that he was driving. He said it's not going to be Urban Meyer. So we've already crossed off Urban Meyer. We've already crossed off Bob Stoops. And today's story, which is just utterly ridiculous, and I think the media, the Twitter sphere is starting to get piled on to the Florida State coaching search, is that they are trying to reach out to get Nick Saban to be the next head coach at Florida State. Y'all, the Florida State coaching search is already off the rails, all right? This is why you don't fire a coach with a full month of the football season left, because you really can't hire anybody, all right? You can't hire anybody for a month to go. And so what's going to happen is everybody is going to ratchet up the ridiculousness, and they are going to go off the rails in a big way, okay? They are going to go off the rails in a big way because they have a full month where they really can't hire anybody. Unless you knew that you could hire a coach who was not presently a coach, it made no sense to fire your coach with a full month left on the season. Because it's not like somebody like, let's say Mark Stoops, who's a very reasonable guy you could get, or Lane Kiffin, or Dave Clawson, or, one of those type of coaches. All of those guys have to finish the regular season with their current team. So it makes absolutely no sense to fire your coach, because it's not like, unless you can go hire somebody who's not currently a coach, it makes no sense, right? Because they can't start to work for you yet. Now, if you really thought you could get Bob Stoops and he was saying, hey, yeah, I'll sign the papers tomorrow, and he's not coaching and he can go out and start recruiting for you immediately, then I think it makes sense. But as is, it doesn't make any sense at all the way this thing is shaken out. So I think it's going to be incredible to watch all this play out. But already we're descending into madness there. Speaking of descending into madness. Descending into madness. How about somebody getting killed at Popeyes over their new chicken sandwich? Now, I haven't gone and tried the new chicken sandwich at Popeyes yet. All right? Just being honest. But I already know that it's not as good as Chick-fil-A. Do you know why? Because I have been in a Popeyes before, and that place is dirty compared to a Chick-fil-A, all right? Chick-fil-A is the gold standard of fast food worker. It's the gold standard of fast food restaurant. I have never, ever been into a fast food restaurant other than Chick-fil-A that hasn't at some point in time been trash, right? You know what I'm talking about. Like, you're driving around, you're hungry for a Big Mac, you pull in, and the McDonald's that you go into is complete trash. It's dirty. There are flies everywhere. The workers are awful. It takes forever to get your food. All those things are true. Chick-fil-A is, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the GOAT of the fast food industry. Having said that, maybe this Popeyes chicken sandwich is amazing, okay? My man got killed arguing over standing in a line for a Popeyes chicken sandwich. Now, I'm just going to say this in general. If you get into such a serious argument at a fast food restaurant over who's in line that you end up in a fight, you have made some bad decisions in your life. Because at some point, as you are in this argument, now clearly the guy who did the stabbing makes the worst decisions, but at some point there should be an alarm bell going off in your head that is saying, wait a minute, I'm about to get into a fight over a chicken sandwich. That should be in your head. All going off over and again. I don't care how good the chicken sandwich is, in your head should be thinking, is it worth getting in a fight over a chicken sandwich? Now, We're not talking about a life raft situation where you are going to be out at sea for 3 or 4 days and there's only one chicken sandwich left. And it's life or death who gets the chicken sandwich. Worst case scenario, if one person cuts the line in front of you, you are going to have to be in line for approximately 2 minutes and 30 seconds longer than you would have before. And that's probably an exaggeration because usually they have multiple cash registers working, which means the line is not going to take that much longer. What I question in general is why do more people's brains not work such that you think as you are going through life, what if I died because of this? I have not done a lot of things in my life because I have thought, what if I died because of this? For instance, do you know how many people die every year now taking selfies? If I'm on a cliff and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? This would be an incredible picture of me on this cliff as I lean out over the ocean. I think to myself, probably not worth it, because what if the edge of the cliff crumbles and I die trying to take a picture? Is it really that impressive that I'm standing on a cliff looking out over the beach? Lots of people have done that in their lives. I don't think somebody's going to see my photo with the ocean behind me on a cliff and think, my God, this is the greatest photo that's ever been taken. I'm not willing to take the risk to potentially plummet to my death. The risk reward is not good enough. 2 people got into an argument over a chicken sandwich at Popeyes. Yes, you probably don't anticipate that you could get stabbed to death. But at some point, neither of those people thought, maybe we shouldn't get in a fight over a chicken sandwich. All it would have taken is one of those 2 people to think, maybe we shouldn't get in a fight over a chicken sandwich. Now, you don't want to get killed and stabbed over a chicken sandwich, but you also don't want to get punched over a chicken sandwich. So if either one of them at any point in time had thought, I don't want to die fighting or get punched fighting over a chicken sandwich, this situation wouldn't have escalated. This is why I try to de-escalate every situation. I am a de-escalator. Unless my life is in danger, I am not going to fight you. I am not going to throw a punch at you unless my life is in danger or you are paying me lots of money to do so. I am 40 years old. DBAP, yes, but always SBAP. Sometimes the risk is not worth the reward. If I punch somebody because they skip me in line at the Popeyes chicken sandwich line, do you know what I get? I'm still the guy who punched somebody for skipping me in line at Popeyes. Nobody likes that guy. Nobody is like, you know what? I'm glad somebody did this. So I hope they catch the perpetrator, the murderer, the man who killed someone else over a chicken sandwich. And by the way, we don't even know if the murderer got a chicken sandwich. He might have gotten so mad about the line that they took it outside and he stabbed a man instead. Can you imagine if that was your dad, your grandpa, or your uncle? And you said, yeah, you know, Dad went to go get everybody Popeyes, but instead of bringing back Popeyes, he brought back a murder charge from the Popeyes chicken sandwich line. I don't know what kind of decision making that conveys through the genetic code, but if Dad went to get Popeyes for the family and instead of bringing back Popeyes, he brought back a murder charge, your family is probably screwed. Also, Popeyes, not the best advertising. Because I don't want to think, you know, if I go get in line for a chicken sandwich at Popeyes, I might get stabbed to death. I got to be careful about this line. So that's what's going on at Popeyes. All right? Now, final thoughts here. Final couple of thoughts. I got a couple of more things to hit on. I got to tell you. What do I have here? I've got myself distracted. Kawhi sitting out. The NBA receives $2.5 billion a year. $2.5 billion a year to put its television product out there for everybody to see on TNT and ESPN. I am not a marketing genius. Maybe I am, actually. But I'm not marketing the NBA. But Adam Silver has got to make a rule. And the rule needs to be straightforward and simple. You can't sit out nationally televised games. The reason why you make the money that you do is because people want to sit on their couch and watch you play basketball for the largest possible audience. This is 2 straight games that Kawhi has set out that are on national television because of load management. Now, load management is a ridiculous phrase. I understand the idea behind it, being that we want to be as good as we can in April when the 4-month NBA playoffs start. All right? The NBA playoffs go on forever. But that's a flaw of your game. There's no way that we need 82 games before we have 3 to 4 months of playoffs. All right? This is a major issue for Adam Silver. The NBA's television ratings are tanking, and they will tank again tonight because people are not going to want to watch the Clippers without Kawhi Leonard and without Paul George. The NBA has to get this thing solved in a hurry. This is a mess. And again, I don't blame coaches. I don't blame players. I don't blame anybody for trying to maximize their team's chances to win a championship. But if you have an 82-game season and guys are only willing to play in 60 of those games, you need to fix things in a hurry. And the first thing you need to fix is you can't allow stars to sit out because they're just resting on nationally televised games. Finally, Donald Trump is not going to get removed from office. This impeachment charade is one more polarized thing that the country is going to go through. I haven't talked that much about impeachment because I told you a month ago when this whole thing started, and I told you even before that when the Robert Mueller investigation was going on, that there was not going to be any removal from office. Now, there is a difference between impeachment and removal from office. You can be impeached by the House of Representatives, which I think there is a good chance Donald Trump will, and not removed from office. A lot of people don't understand that distinction. When it goes to the Senate, there will be a vote, and 67 people will have to vote to remove Donald Trump from office. It won't even get a majority of support, all right? There is a 0% chance of impeachment actually taking place. Moreover, and I think this is a larger issue here, we are less than a year until the actual election. If you believe that there are impeachable offenses against Donald Trump, I think if you're a senator, you just say, let the American public decide. It's less than a year until the 2020 election. You can allow the American public to decide whether to remove Donald Trump from office or not. We don't need a constitutional crisis to emerge between now and next November. By the time the vote is actually taken, it'll be 11 months away. It might even be already 2020. We might be close to voting on who the Democratic nomination is going to be to run against Donald Trump. All this is going to do is strengthen Donald Trump. If you want to remove him from office, there's a mechanism to do that. It's called an election, which is taking place less than a year from now. This entire thing is a trumped-up charade. It's just another divisive action that doesn't have any basis in reality. If you don't like Trump, I totally understand it. Vote to remove him. Boom, problem solved. I love all of you. My name is Clay Travis. What this makes me think is the Democrats are starting to recognize that they're going to lose in 2020 and that they can't beat him. So they're trying to do whatever they can to try to take him out. And frankly, I don't think it's going to work. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. My name is Clay Travis. Don't kill anybody standing in line for a Popeyes chicken sandwich. This has been Outkick the Show. Appreciate all of you. See ya on Lock It In a half hour. See y'all. Love you. Thank you, Facebook. See y'all.